started out our week in New York by learning as much as we could about the Hasidic Jews. The Hasidic Jews, or the Hasidim, are so incredibly different from Christianity and even other Jewish sects. They don't even study the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible. They simply study the Talmud, which is a commentary on those scriptures.
Let's start off by stating children in Hasidic Jewish communities are not well educated overall. 99%, yes, 99% of the 3rd through 8th graders fail the U.S. standardized test according to a 2019 study. When it comes to technology, children in all Hasidic Jews have to keep kosher. No outside information gets into the community without the approval of the rabbi. Families have anywhere from 8 to 14 children. As we drove through the community of Kiryas Joel, there were piles of scooters and bikes by each apartment building. With so many children per household, most depend on government benefits to support their families. Poverty, along with a poor education, has created an endless cycle. These children's futures are dim. They cannot dream of going to college and becoming something more. They are at the mercy of their rabbis and their community.
On Tuesday, we went into Brooklyn, into Crown Heights, and Williamsburg, 2 predominantly Jewish communities in which we were able to interact with the Jews and see how they interacted with each other. We got some food from a bakery and we ate at Gottlieb's Diner, but the highlight of the day was when we went to the synagogue and were invited in to see what went on inside the synagogue.
Inside the synagogue, it was very loud, very crowded, and Amy had kind of talked about how this group is very cultish, and I don't think it really clicked with me until then how cultish it actually is to go inside of there, and it really kind of opened my eyes a little bit more, made me understand a little bit more on what she meant by that. I really don't know if indoctrination is the right word, but almost like brainwashing the kids, memorizing chants, kind of like what we would do with Bible verses, but this seemed very aggressive the way it was being done. I believe that they see it as religion. But like I said, after seeing all that, this is definitely a cult, learning about how they do things, and they're worshiping a guy that they acknowledge has been dead for 30 years. To where us, we knew that Jesus died, but he did come back, he's alive. And so it's a very different thing there. Their Messiah is still dead.
During Monday's training, Amy was preparing us for what we might encounter as we talk with Hasidic people. We were all in shock that there could be such a large group of people living under conditions that we've only read about or seen in movies. At times I was thinking that Amy was just telling us the worst case scenario, especially for the life of oppression most of the women face. But as we drove through Kiryas Joel, I couldn't help but look into the faces of the women I saw. There was no joy in any of their faces as they sat in groups surrounded by their younger children and waited on their older children to return from school. On Tuesday, I experienced firsthand the control that the men have over their entire family as a father grabbed the bags out of his teenage daughter's hands for fear that they would see the hope we were trying to share with them. He refused to let them even look in the bags before he kept the water and threw the bags at me, telling me to keep my missionary material. Then on Friday, we talked with one lady about her preparations and what she looked forward to as she prepared for her Sabbath. She was not excited about spending time in prayer or worship or Bible study. The only thing she looked forward to is that the Sabbath is the only day that she doesn't have to do any work. My heart broke as I began to think, how can so many people live without the joy of the Lord? And how will they know if we don't tell them? Then God gave me a thought. Here in New Harmony, we may not be living under the same type of oppression, but we are surrounded by people who do not know the true joy of the Lord. Many people have learned how to fake it and put on a happy face. And God said to me, you are willing and ready to go all the way to another state to tell people about the joy of the Lord and His salvation. Are you willing to tell the people in your own town or church or home?